Hi, welcome to the channel. Chris Lehto, retired F-16 pilot, now investigating UAPs. This man right here is my favorite philosopher, Dr. Bernardo Kastrup. And in this interview, he talks about his own UAP experience. I was very excited to hear it and share it with you guys. Let's check it out. Thanks for being here. Chris Lehto, welcome to LehtoFiles.
Interesting. Now, can you tell me about your own personal UAP experience when you were very young? And what's most interesting about this is not the experience itself, but the effect it had on you and how you reacted to it.
I have had two bizarre things in my life, behaviors I could never understand. That's probably the number one. I was, I don't know, 9 or 10 years old. My parents had a house perched on top of a little hill. And a hill, I don't know, 20 meters high or so. And at the bottom of that hill, just behind my parents' house, there was a very tall tree. So when I was in the backyard of my parents' house, I was at the same height as the canopy of that tree. I could see the birds, I could see the leaves, the branches, I was as high as the canopy. And one day I was playing in the backyard, and then bright sunny afternoon, not what you would expect from UAPs, right? You would expect lights in the night sky at 3 a.m., something mysterious. No, bright, busy day, the noises of life around, and sunny afternoon. And there comes this silvery thing in the form of a bullet, about a yard long, a meter long, with these little fluttering strips at the back, as if fluttering the wind. And came in between my face and the canopy of the tree. So the canopy was behind it, and it was in front of me. So I knew that it couldn't have been more than 3 meters away from me. It was really, really close, and it passed very slowly. It was not falling. It was not in a ballistic trajectory. It didn't have any visible means of propulsion. It didn't have a propeller, didn't have jets, it didn't make any noise whatsoever. Passed slowly, I don't know, 2 meters a second max. Very slow speed, and I just could follow it for several seconds with my eyes. And it was going down, a rectilinear, non-ballistic, controlled trajectory going down. And when I saw it, my first reaction was, what the F is that? And then the next thing I said in my mind was, get the hell out of here. You do not belong here. Are you crazy? What are you doing here? You're not supposed to be here. And I never understood that reaction. Why would a 9, 10-year-old kid become upset that that thing was there? I was not in awe. I was not afraid, not at all, not a drop of fear. I was annoyed, like somebody was playing a game and infringed the rules. Like, you're not supposed to do that. You're not supposed to be here. Get the F out of here. So I was annoyed, and after it passed in front of me, and it was still going down, and I could extrapolate in my mind, rectilinear trajectory. I knew exactly where it was going to land if it continued. And the last thought I had was, I'm going to rush there. I'm going to confront this thing. It's not supposed to be here. And then I don't remember that thing anymore. I have no idea how. It's peculiar. One, why I reacted like that. I never understood it. And two, why. I mean, my last memory is, I am going there. I know where it's landing. I know what it is. I can see from here. I'm going to climb down the hill, and I'm going there. We're going to have a conversation. And I don't remember anything anymore. I don't know whether I did go there or maybe I just don't remember, because a second later I thought, to hell with it, and I continued to play, and therefore it was trivial, and I don't remember because it was trivial. I don't know. So that I don't remember is not, for me, the most peculiar thing, because arguably it could be accounted for in some prosaic way. But what I never could let go is why I was pissed off. Why? Why should I be pissed off with a ridiculous thing, flying at slow speed in front of me? Of all reactions, why being pissed off?
So like I said in the intro, I'm a huge fan of Bernardo Kastrup. Hopefully I'll get him on the show one of these days. And so I was very surprised of his admission that he's actually had not one, but two interesting experiences. And if you look at this first one, I found it was very interesting because he could clearly see it. And he has that philosophical mind to go back and really analyze what he was thinking at the time. And he's very shocked and surprised why he would be angry that this thing was there, that it's not following the rules. And the other part that's really interesting is he doesn't remember what happened. So he remembers this encounter very clearly, extremely clearly, until he actually goes to the object and question why it's there. And then from that moment on, as soon as he's going, that's where he forgets. And you hear this so much in abductee accounts, experiencers, basically seeing something and then not remembering anything. So missing time, essentially. Kastrup's arguments on the universal mind and disassociated alters that he's talked about. I've mentioned his theories before in relation to Donald Hoffman. I believe Kastrup has the same idea that we're not seeing the actual reality. What we're looking at right now is a representation of actual reality. And Kastrup, I believe, has been on the forefront of thinking about this concept, idealism. Could we all be a part of the same universal consciousness? It's basically what Kastrup is arguing. And when he was young, he had a very interesting UAP encounter that he doesn't remember and was shocked by his own actions. And it's an interesting one too. A small object looked like a bullet, and how it moved was very interesting. Yeah, the whole encounter is unique. I haven't really heard one exactly like it. But what's also interesting is Kastrup is obviously knowledgeable on the phenomena. He mentions David Grush and how his viewpoints actually changed after Grush's hearing and after he came out. So now Bernardo talks about his current thinking on UAPs. Are they all in your mind? Is it just some psychological issue? Seeing the reality, is that part of it? Well, he mentions here that that's not always the case. For all you nuts and bolts people out there, he says, yeah, he does support nuts and bolts as well. Let's check it out.
Have you thought about how this might link with the call of the absurd, which you write about in Meaning and Absurdity? Can you tell us about that?
Well, I think all UAPs potentially link to that. And it links back to Jung's idea that UAPs are physical, but they are physical in a special way, a way that is very acquiescent to psychological projections. In other words, they are out there, but they are in here at the same time. They blur the boundary between self and world. So in that context, all UAPs are potentially related to what I wrote in that book, Meaning in Absurdity. They may be expressions of a layer of reality that does not comply to our Aristotelian logic. Why would nature comply to what we think is reasonable and logical, right? We cannot logically prove the validity of logic without circular reasoning. So logic is arbitrary. The axioms of logic, they simply reflect what is self-evident to us as primates who have been hopping around for 200,000 or 300,000 years. In other words, for no time at all. Why would nature comply to what we think is self-evident? Well, it turns out that at least the main layers of nature miraculously are compliant to our logic, because our models of nature work empirically. Nature does behave according to the ways we predict nature will behave. This is already fantastical. Eugene Wigner, Nobel Prize-winning physicist, wrote a paper in the 1960s in which he refers to this correspondence between nature's behavior and our own logical axioms. He refers to it as a miracle, and he uses the word miracle 12 times in his paper. Why would nature comply to our own logical axioms that underlie our mathematics, which underlie our physics, which predicts nature correctly? I mean, why should that be? So that alone is already a miracle. But maybe underneath that layer, there is one layer of nature that doesn't comply. And when that layer of nature manifests itself in a perceptible, empirical way, it is what I call a call of the absurd. It's an absurd thing nature does. And UAPs, I don't think all of them, but many of them may be just that. Maybe an expression of nature's intrinsic, immanent absurdity that sometimes refuses to comply with what we think is reasonable. So maybe the miracle at Fatima in 1917 was one of the calls of the absurd, and maybe some other events as well. But in the age post David Grush, I am open to the notion that there is an aspect to the phenomenon that isn't so psychological, that there may be something else going on here.
So this is what I think of as interdimensional. David Grush said in his interviews that basically doesn't know where these things are coming from, or he implies or says that we don't know where these things are coming from, where the actual origin is. It could be interdimensional. So they say non-human intelligence. It's hard to tell if it was ever alive. Is it coming from another place we don't understand? It's not in our physical models. I think this could be where it's coming from, is from a different dimension, maybe one of consciousness, a reality that is obviously here, but we can't see it. And as Bernardo said there, is Jung said that it was on the boundary, is both. You have consciousness elements are coming from another dimension that we don't understand, some sort of underlying reality that we can't perceive based on our nature, the physical nature of being human on planet Earth. And Kastrup believes that some of these UAPs, he said, not all of them, but some of them, or maybe many of them, could be some sort of nature's absurdity. So not adhering to our laws. Nature in its vast complexness, doing what it does, and our misunderstanding of it. And somehow you can have on this boundary, you can have real objects coming through. So it's not just in the mind. It's not just in the consciousness. There's actual physical objects, as he says there, in the post-David Grush era. So everything's definitely changed. We have world-renowned philosophers actively engaging and knowledgeable on UAPs. So very excited. I think this is where the interdimensional comes from, is from Bernardo Kastrup's explanation along with Donald Hoffman on this other reality and their views that space-time is not fundamental. So it could be, likely is, an underlying reality. An interesting thought I had yesterday is that space and time are obviously not fundamental. If you think about it, space and time are measurements of other things. What is actually space? It's the lack of things in it, or it's the relationship of matter and energy to other matter and energy, right? Since everything is relative, right? So you can't say space as your fundamental thing, right? Space is a representation. It's a measurement of other things, energy, light, matter, and changes of state. Those are your real things. And same thing with time. Like, think about time. Can you really point to time? No, how do you explain time? You have to explain it in relation to things. When everything was different in the past, when there was a different state, the energy and matter, location, everything in the universe really was in a different relationship. That's what it is. That's time. In the future, it's going to be in a different relationship. But time itself doesn't really exist. It's just a measurement of something that does exist. And so if we make space and time fundamental to all of our understanding, then really we're not going to understand actual reality. So I was very excited to see this interview from Bernardo Kastrup. He doesn't relay his second weird experience in his life. Fortunately, the interviewer doesn't ask, but it still is a great interview. Go to Weekend University YouTube to check it out and get more amazing insights from, I believe, the current top philosopher out there. He's definitely into UAPs. Hope you enjoyed this. Thank you for watching. Please hit the like button. It really helps the channel. Consider subscribing. And a special thanks to all my patrons on patreon.com/Chris Lehto. This trip to Hestelin could not be possible without them, as well as YouTube members. Thank you so much, and please consider helping the channel. Again, couldn't be possible without your support. And in November, I'll be going on The Transcendence of Consciousness, Ancient Egypt Uncovered with Nick Cook, JP Haig, Mohammed Ibrahim, and Ross Coulthart, actually. Thanks again to patrons. Could not do it without you guys. And I will give up-to-the-date, real-time information on patreon.com/Chris Lehto. So again, please sign up. Thanks again. Have a great day. Peace.